You are listening to Johnstown Live with Ralph DeMarco on 1490 WNTJ News Talk, Johnstown. The proud sponsors of Johnstown Live, the Wimber Medical Center. The Wimber Medical Center is a Plaintree designated facility. Their philosophy of patient-centered care helps to improve the quality of life by healing the mind, body, and spirit. Let Wimber Medical Center help. Somerset Trust Company. Somerset Trust Company, the region's most convenient bank. Well, good morning, Johnstown Live listeners. We have a very unique show this morning. We have a young man in the studio from Acrylite Pictures, and he is in the process of and has completed his first film that I am aware of. And this young man is named Tom Getty. And Tom, I've looked at the script that we've talked about. I've looked at all the questions we've talked about, and my mind is already going in other directions. I want to get off the script, so if I do that, I apologize, but I have a zillion questions I'd like to ask you, and I don't even know how you would write a zillion questions. But Tom Getty, welcome to Johnstown Live.
Hey, thank you, sir, for that introduction, and that's no problem with me if we go off script.
Tom, how about a little bit about your life's journey? Where you were born and raised, where you went to high school. Can you get us to at least to your college experience, any degrees that you might have, and then we'll work from that point?
Yes, sir. I was born and raised just a few miles from this station right here. I was born in Johnstown, PA, and raised here. I went to Westmont Hilltop Elementary, middle school, high school, so on. And I went to 2 years at UPJ that I enjoyed very much, and I highly recommend anybody around here go up there. It's a great transition to college. And then I decided after 2 years that I would go down to the University of Pittsburgh main campus, where I graduated with the cum laude degree in communications.
So you're a communications major.
Yes, sir. And
what were your aspirations at that point? Like, what is it that you wanted to do with that degree?
That's interesting. What does one want to do with a degree? For me, college was all about broadening my mind past filmmaking, which was one of the reasons why I never went to a film school. And whenever I graduated high school, I thought, well, what am I going to do as far as college? Because I'm kind of like a weird person in terms of my interest with filmmaking.
Well, let's not use the word weird.
Let's
use the word unique.
Okay, unique.
And let's get something straight early on in this interview. Don't call me sir again. Just call me
sir.
Ralph,
no,
all right?
Sir. Ralph. Well, I decided that so I'm not a chemistry person, so no chemistry. I'm not a math person, so no math person. So no math degree. So I decided communications because I thought that will be a good base for what I'm doing. And what I found out when I did the communications degree is that that's the whole job. Filmmaking is communicating with an audience. And that is by far the most difficult part of that job. So that degree really gave me a base for making movies. So ironically, I went to broaden my interests, and it only strengthened them.
The bottom line is you became a communications major. In your mind, making a film is taking the visuals and the audio and communicating to an audience some type of message. Did I get that right? Or
yes. That's it, and that's the end of the game, which is, does the audience get it? After 2 hours, do they get the movie? And if they don't, you've done a poor job. So that really was the latter part of my education. The first part was focusing on camera angles, scripting, acting, but the latter part of my education has been, does the audience get it? And how do you take an idea you have for a film and turn it into something tangible that an audience member is going to comprehend in a movie theater. Now, that sounds easy. That sounds obvious, even. Why didn't I get that when I was 14, when I was starting out? But you look straight past that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you look straight past that kind of stuff. Let's back up a little bit. Tom Getty, you own Acrolite Pictures. Is that true?
Yes.
And you have made how many films at this point?
Let me think. I've been making films since I'm 13. So I would say about 8 so far. I might be wrong in that number. I have to, go through.
Well, that's okay. We'll go with 8.
Point by point.
Eight's a good number.
8 sounds like a nice number.
And your most recent film is entitled
Rising Fear.
And we're going to get to that later in the show. I'm just trying to set the kind of the ground floor for our Johnstown Live listeners this morning. And for our Johnstown Live listeners, you are listening to Johnstown Live with Ralph DeMarco on 1490 WNTJ News Talk in Johnstown. Our guest on this morning's show is Tom Getty. Tom Getty is a native of the Johnstown area. He owns Acrolite Pictures, and he is a producer, a director, an actor, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker all in one at this point. Right, Tom?
Yes.
So, Tom, when did this creative juices start to flow? When did you realize that you like to create things?
Ever since I can remember, as the saying goes. Ever since I'm, 4 or 5, I like to draw, of course, and, build stuff with action figures, and that's when I'm a child, But whenever I got a little older, 3rd grade, I had a wonderful teacher who was at the time named Miss Critchfield, who's now Mrs. Keslack. And she very much encouraged me to write. And this was back in 95. And so computers weren't as ubiquitous as they are now. And I thought, well, great. With the computer, I could write a story. And one of the things that really set me off like a rocket was the only time I could write was during recess on the computer. And, of course, everybody wanted to go back and play games. And one recess, I really wanted to go write. And Mrs. Critchfield at the time, as soon as all the kids were racing back to get on the computer, she said, whoa, 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 whoa. No, Tom gets the computer because he's doing work. And if there was anything that should have won the Teacher of the Year award, it was that. And, that kind of encouragement to say what you're doing is not playing around, it's work. So that's what really started off that year.
Do you have any unique, unusual, funny stories about your early creations back in middle school?
Yes. I was always doing things. I was always starting up one enterprise or another. For 1 year, I wanted to be a musician of sorts, but really it was because I was so into the movie The Blues Brothers. So I started my own band, The Blues Brothers. And, we performed at the winter concert and everything. It was a huge hit. The other thing, I wanted to be a talk show host. I wanted to be Jay Leno or Conan O'Brien, so one summer, I would always go up to Clark's Corner Store. That's about a half-mile away from my house, and I'd buy a USA Today, and I'd bring it back to the house, and I would write jokes based on the paper. And then that night I would record it, and then I'd show it to my parents. And now I can't watch that stuff because it's really embarrassing.
Actually, I don't think that should be embarrassing. Whenever you finally make it big, that's going to become part of your documentary. That's going to become part of who you are. So you better hang on to that stuff.
It's on YouTube. If I think it's on YouTube, I don't know. Maybe I should better not send people there, but not for now at least.
Yeah, let's just wait a little bit before we start sending them anywhere. In fact, in your mind, gather your contact information because we'll give it to our Johnstown Live audience at the end of the show.
Okay.
Any contact information that you would feel comfortable sharing with our Johnstown Live audience. You got this communications degree from the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, which I agree with you is an outstanding educational institution right here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Why not go to L.A., go to film school, find a mentor, do it by the numbers, by the book?
Because I believe you don't have to do it that way. for a number of reasons. One, things have changed so dramatically in the past 10 years, primarily because of the internet. The one thing people always say to me is, why aren't you in LA? Why are you still here in Johnstown? As if Johnstown is the moon. And I say to them, for one, I have all these resources here. Friends, family, endless support. And not to mention, I love living here. It's a lovely place to live. LA is hugely expensive. And you're going to be carrying 2 jobs to, fund a $1,600 a month apartment. The thing of it is, you said about the mentor, go there and find a mentor. You don't really have to go there to find a mentor. For instance, when I was finished with my first feature film, I mean, you could call it my first, technically it would be my third. But when I was done with Emulation, which was right out of college, I sent it to a number of producers. I sent it to all of them. You name them, I sent it to them. Jerry Bruckheimer.
Let's back up a little bit. So,
okay.
your first film that you made was called Emulation?
Yes.
And when exactly when did you do that?
Okay, first it was my first feature film, and a feature film is something that's more than 45 minutes. So that was 84 minutes. So that's like a movie you would see at Richland cinemas. And that was in the vein of Harrison Ford and The Fugitive, because I love that movie. That's probably one of my top 10 favorite movies, The Fugitive.
I remember the TV series when I was a kid, The
Yes,
Fugitive.
Yes. And so when I was in college, again, I'm a very self-directed person. It's, again, one of the reasons why I never wanted to go to film school. Because when you go to film school, they're going to tell you when and where you're going to make your films and how you make the films. And that doesn't really gel with what I do. So when I was down at the University of Pittsburgh and doing that program, I decided I really got to make the 2-hour movie, which would be, Emulation. And I wanted to do a thriller. So that's the background story on that. Now, when I was done with it, it took me 2 years, junior year of college and then senior year of college, filming it and editing it in between classes and such. And after I graduated and moved back home, I decided to send it out to producers to drum up interests and try to get my foot in the door.
Well, let me ask you this question. Emulation. You're writing, you're directing,
yes,
you're acting, you're putting up the props, you're sweeping the floor, you're doing it all.
Yes.
Any other actors locally that were in Emulation, or?
Professionally, one. I mean, because it's mostly a mix of friends and, if you can get them, professionals. With Emulation, we had, I graduated with Jeff Hawanik. We graduated together 2006 from Westmont Hilltop, and he was in it. He plays the not to spoil the movie, but he's the bad guy in the movie. Phenomenal actor. And he had been in the musicals, and he did the, what do you call that, during, like, the midday minutes, the TV announcements during school. What do you call that?
I would believe they're called the TV announcements during school.
And he hosted those, and he did a fantastic job. And I thought he would bring the necessary qualities to that role, because Emulation is about a company that lets you live through your favorite movie. So if you want to live through the movie Die Hard, you call up the Emulation Corp, and you have to pay a lot of money for it. And you say, my favorite movie is Die Hard, I want to live through that. And they'll put you in a building. And, it'll be like playing tag when you're a kid. And they'll set off explosions, and they'll have guys chase you around in a ski mask, and they'll give you a gun with blanks in it, and you shoot, and you feel like John McClane. And Jeff Wannick played the role of the man who owns the company. And my character is just some average graduate student. And I'm, for some reason, pulled into this. I'm offered the chance to do it for free. I won't ruin the ending. I don't want to do that.
Never ruin the ending.
Right. You have to seek out a copy of this movie. And where can you get it? Right now, it's not available publicly, but I'm sure you could seek one out. Let's just say that. You could seek one out.
You are listening to Johnstown Live with Ralph DeMarco on 1490 WNTJ News Talk, Johnstown.